Hi, I'm Reagan Lowry, and I'm here to talk about my unessay. Well, this is my unessay, but I'm here to talk about gender inequality within sports, and specifically my story and experiences with that. To start off, I had always wanted to play baseball. It started out when I was 7 years old, and my dad took my brother and I to meet up with my uncle and my cousin to see our very first Major League Baseball game. And we saw the Mariners play the Phillies, and it was the most magical experience to me. I instantly fell in love with the sport, and I wanted to get into it. But I was told that it wasn't possible because I was a girl. Because I was born with female reproductive system, that I would not be allowed to play. And it just doesn't happen. And I had to accept that at an early age, which was really hard. I was told not to worry though, because I could play softball, and I did for a year, and I didn't really like it. I mean, it wasn't baseball, I should say. I enjoyed it in a sense, but it wasn't what I was looking for, and it didn't give me the same feeling that playing baseball would, and the same kind of energy and feeling, because sometimes I'd help my dad and my brother when they'd practice, because my dad coached Little League and my brother played Little League, and so sometimes I get to help out with practice, and that was so much more fun to me than playing softball. And I played, and right before I got into middle school, I had no desire to get back into the sport again. I mean, I really wanted to play baseball or softball, but I was told I couldn't. I mean, baseball-wise, and I didn't have a desire to play softball. And so, but I watched the movie A League of Their Own, and that really got me wanting to play softball, because I thought maybe if I play softball now, maybe later there will be an opportunity for me to play baseball, and I'll already be at least fundamentally sound, and it won't be like an out of the blue thing. I'll be ready for it. And so I played softball all throughout middle school, and I couldn't find my softball pictures, but I have my 2016, my 2017, and my 2018 achievement awards for playing middle school softball. Now, I still enjoyed my time. It wasn't bad, but I noticed that less people would come to softball games than the baseball games. And we had a really successful softball team. We had a pitcher that would play on a tournament team, and so we had a pitcher played on a tournament team, and so she was amazing, and she was a grade ahead of me. So my 6th and 7th grade year, we did amazing. And our 8th grade year, we did terrible, but we had the same turnout all throughout middle school, whether we were one of the best teams in our league or quite literally like the worst team in our league. But people would rather go to the baseball games, which they weren't the best. I mean, it's middle school, but we did better than the baseball guys, and yet the baseball team still got more turnout, not because there were more players, but because people would rather go see baseball than softball, which I was royally upset about. But I continued. Now, my freshman year, I heard that if there were not enough girls on a softball team, because our school provided softball and baseball, and if we did not have enough players for a softball team, and like I had really wanted to play, I could play baseball. I would be allowed to, because our school did not provide it wouldn't be providing softball. I could either play baseball or I could go to another school, but that's a lot harder. It doesn't always work out. And so it was the last week to sign up for softball, and I wasn't playing that year. I hadn't planned on playing it. I didn't like the high school coach for softball, but I heard that if they didn't get like 4 more players by the end of the week, they weren't gonna have a softball team. And so I went to the head baseball coach, who was my math teacher, and I said, "Hey, I really love baseball, and I've wanted to play since I was a little girl. And I mean, I'm a softball player, so I at least know most, I'm at least fundamentally sound for baseball, and I wouldn't be behind. Um, can I at least try out for the team?" And he told me that I would never be able to play baseball because I was too short and small, dainty, and weak. And he said it was out of protection and out of my own good, but he said even sticking in, some of the best softball players on the team and putting them on baseball would be a danger for them. And he kept, I think he was trying to make me feel better, but I'm not sure, but he kept basically berating, just breaking me down and telling me that I can't be a baseball player. It won't ever happen. And it's, the most I could do basically was be like, go to the games. Maybe I could get manager, but he doesn't want a manager this year. And so he'd rather have a guy, someone with experience. And so I said, okay. And that really hurt me. That really broke me down. But I don't know how, but I somehow still had hope after that. I still hoped that, maybe things would change. Maybe the rules would end up changing in the OSAA, or maybe I could go to another school and play. I don't know. Well, there ended up being a softball team, so it didn't matter anyway. But I still had hope. And my sophomore year, 2019, 2020 school year, I had hope that maybe something, there wouldn't be enough players because there wasn't a lot on the softball team beforehand anyway. Luckily, a month into the school year starting, the head coach of the baseball team left. I was very excited because he was not a nice guy. He wasn't even a great math teacher. And he left. He went to a different school. And so I was excited, hoping maybe things will change. And, well, things technically did change. COVID started, so no sports happened anyway. And my junior year, I was praying for it again. And I was told that there was a chance that they were going to do, like, co-ed practices. And so I signed up for softball, hoping that I'd get some baseball practice in there, if it were co-ed. And also on the off chance that there weren't enough girls sign up, and then I could just play baseball because I've been practicing with the baseball team anyway, and just kind of give that as like an excuse to play baseball, or like to kind of back up my saying on why I should play. But that fell through. Some COVID rules changed, and it wasn't possible to do that. And so I played softball my junior year, and it was fine. We did good. We went to the playoffs, and but my favorite day of softball of all time, practice wise, was one of our practices that we got out early for, and I had to wait for my brother to get done with practice, and so I waited on the bleachers for him to get done, and it was, whatever, it was going around for a while, and then the head coach, which was the new head coach, he used to be my brother's little league coach, and they went to our church. We were good friends. We've known them for a long time, and so we've known each other for a while, and he asked me if I could catch fly balls that went back over the fence and whatnot, and so that's what I did. and it was so much fun, and I felt like I was a part of the team. And he then asked at the very end if I wanted to hit, because he was throwing pitches right at the end. It was like the last group was going to hit, and he asked if I wanted to do it because I had all my stuff there, and I said yes, and I got to hit, and he knew I was a good softball player. He knew I played softball, but he said that he was surprised at how well my hitting was, and and then and then the practice ended and we left, and that was my favorite day because I thought for a long time that would be the closest thing I could experience to playing baseball. Sorry for getting emotional. It's emotional for me. And I became satisfied with that. Like I had, the smallest experience one could with practicing with the team, but it meant a lot to me. And we carried on, and my senior year started up, and I had managed for the girls varsity volleyball team and the girls varsity basketball team. And so when I was working the snack shack at one of the basketball games before the girls were supposed to play, I was working the snack shack, and the baseball coach came up to me, and he said, "Hey, I know you've been manager for volleyball and basketball. Would you like to manage baseball?" And I was over the moon about it, and I said, "I'd love to, just as long as there's no softball team, because I already signed up for softball, but I don't know, I'll maybe get it worked out. Even though, it is the closest thing I could get to playing baseball." And he said, "What? Why can't you play baseball?" And I told him about what the old head coach had said, and how I wouldn't be able to play. And he said that's baloney. I was just looking at the OSAA rules to make sure that you could manage, and says that you can play, and there's nothing against it. There's nothing that says you can't play. And so I was very excited. And but the catch was I had to get it. I looked it up on the OSAA rulebook, and I had to get it okay by the head coach, which I had already done, by the sports director, the superintendent, and then the school board, and it had to go in that order. And so I already had it okayed for the head coach. Then I had to get it okay with the sports director. So I went, because it was like a weekend, and so I went that next Monday, and I talked to him about it. And I told him, and I showed, this is where it says I can play, and I really want to play. And he said, "Okay, now go talk to superintendent." But when I went to go talk to the superintendent, I had never had an issue with him before. And he said that he had no issue with me playing, but he was convinced that I wanted to play for the wrong reasons. He thought I wanted to play because when I managed for the girls volleyball and basketball teams, there was a lot of drama that happened. And he thought that because, softball was a girl sport, that there'd be lots of drama, and I wanted to get away from the drama. So I was only playing baseball to get away from drama, but still be in sports, which is completely false. I told him, even as baseball, if was the most drama-filled sport, and guys were the most dramatic people on earth and caused so much gossip and drama, I would not care. I would want to play, because I am playing for the sport, not for, the team or whatever. This could be the worst team in the world, and I would still want to play because I have always wanted to play baseball. It has just been a dream of mine. I told him my whole story, and he said, "Okay, I will bring it up to the school board tonight, and I'll let you know our decision." And that night, I heard that I could play baseball, and I was so incredibly excited. And it was, and I got to play baseball, and I was fortunate enough to not experience too much sexism and inequality when playing the sport. I told the coach, and we had a talk, and I said, I don't want to be treated like any other, I don't want to be treated differently from all the other guys. I'm a baseball player. I'm not a female baseball player. I am a baseball player, and I'm here to play baseball. And so I don't want to be put out unless I'm ready to be put out, or unless you think I'm ready to be put out. And we were completely on the same page of that. And now, granted, we had a lot of really experienced and really good players on the team, and so I was not a starter, but I did get playing time. I wasn't a bad player. I wasn't one of the players that had been playing since t-ball, because I never got that experience. I never had the chance, and so I mean, the worst thing, luckily, that I was called by the other team was one of the other teams that we played was a bagel, which I still don't know what that means. I mean, there's a bagel term for baseball, but they blatantly just went, hey, look, it's the bagel, so I am pointing at me, so I don't know what that means. The only thing I think of is like plain or basic, and I'm like, I don't think this is very plain or basic, but whatever. To show, here is me on the baseball team. That's my big picture, and then let's see, I'm right there. I'm a little short one right there. And here is my achievement awards. I think it's funny that they still put boys in front of it, even though whatever. And then to show, so here's my high school, or when I was junior, my softball awards. And then this is my Letterman's jacket. That's for a cappella and show choir. But that's my softball one that I got. And here's my baseball one with my number 13, my jersey. I decided to wear my stuff for, show, and obviously. That's my nickname that my dad gave me, Rage Cage, like from Tenacious D. And Ray Gun, because that's the only way I'd spell my name in high school. But, and so I experienced a lot of inequality and a lot of sexism throughout my times playing softball and baseball. And it was, I had one player that on my team, luckily only one player who did not like I was there, but he was a freshman, so we don't care about him. And he wasn't a nice kid at all, and nobody really liked him. Like, he wasn't nice to anyone, and so I didn't let it get to me, but it still hurt. Knowing that someone on my own team didn't want me to be there, and they would talk about me behind my back all the time, just talking to my brother especially about how I'm such a bad player and I don't deserve to be on the team. I should just stick to softball. I'm only playing for show and attention and yada yada. And he constantly degraded softball. He was a very sexist person, and it was painful, I will say that, but as I said, I did pretty good at not letting it get to me. And I mean, I had some weird experiences with other teams and other coaches, but nothing that I would necessarily call sexist. And on another aspect of sexism and inequality that I've experienced was when I was the manager for the girls' varsity volleyball and the girls' varsity basketball team. I don't have pictures of me when I was on the volleyball team. I can't find the pictures. We moved this summer, so I don't know. But that's me right there for the basketball team. And I experienced, especially with basketball, I witnessed, I should say, a lot of sexism within girls basketball and guys basketball. I will say that the guys, this was the 2022 school year, so the 2022 basketball season, 21-22, The guys did make it all the way to state and even won state in our league for basketball, which was amazing. And our girls did really good. We made it to the playoffs, and we didn't pass to the championship rounds, but we still got to play playoff games, and we did really good. And I witnessed a lot of sexism through the fact that it didn't matter if the girls played before or after the guys' team, because it kind of depended on the schedule. The guys were first. To the sports director, it was priority to get the guys' game in when they wanted the game in. And so we just had to move as will. And there was at least twice as many people that would go to the boys' game than the girls' game. And it's not that we'd get a bad turnout. I mean, we did have bad turnouts, but we'd get a pretty good amount of people, but the people would just come so much more for the guys. We'd sell out at concessions for the guys. Even if they played first, they would sell out. Our school made so much more money off the guys. They made so much more money off like the merch, because there'd be ones that say like boys basketball and like girls basketball, like different variations of that. And the guys ones always sold so much more. For the award ceremony, it was so much bigger, and it was belittling. It made it seem like we were less, even though that we were a really good team. And it was really hard. It was one of those things that it was damaging, not just to me, because I was the manager, so I didn't play, but my best friend was on both of the volleyball and the basketball team, and she told me about how it's just painful to see how much turnout the guys get over the girls, even if the girls were doing better, like even if they had a better record or whatever, guys always got the better turnout. And people always talked about, you're gonna go to the guys' game, you're gonna see the boys' basketball game or whatever. And typically, if the guys' game was first, not many people would stay for the girls' game. And if it was just one of those things. And I mean, I get it if you work late or whatever, or if you have homework, but it really didn't matter. And it wasn't just our school. It was when we visited schools too. We could tell that there was, because when I was manager, I'd have to stay for both girls and guys teams, and it's just crazy how much more goes into it. And it may not seem like a lot to people who aren't invested or within the sports, like as a player, a coach, a manager, personal trainer, athletic trainer. It, like, you can really tell, like you can tell it's like it's a big deal. And I mean, we did a pretty good job at not letting it get to or the girls did a pretty good job of not letting it get into their head and mess up their performance. But it was one of those things that I'd have to constantly be like, we are supporting you. I know there's not a big turnout, but I am your cheerleader. I am your big support. And I always made sure to cheer them on, because they did better 9 times out of 10 when there was cheering, which is with most sports too. And it's unfortunate that I've had to experience and witness so much sexism and inequality, gender inequality within sports, since I was 7. and it really does something, it really affects a person, and it's really affected me. And so, yeah, this is my story, and I hope to one day come out with a more formal and like a more formal story, and a larger, not larger, but a more professional type story, like, of sharing the story, I should say, to more people, because I have a voice and I have a story, and I have a voice that I can use. I was in theater. I'm comfortable in front of many people, and I hope to one day use a story to positively impact guys and girls out there who are experiencing sexism. And another thing, there was a guy, I forgot I wanted to say this. This wasn't necessarily part of my story, but I meant to put it in there earlier. But there was a guy at my school that wanted to play on the softball team after they found out that I could play baseball. And he was turned down because by OSAA rules, if a guy were to play on a softball team, then they could only play other softball teams that had males on them. It was either had males on the team or were all like all male teams, like male softball teams. And so he just didn't play, even though for softball or for baseball, I could play on a baseball team and play with other guys and girls, because there were other girls on 2 other teams that we played. But it's just, and it needs to stop, and it needs to be fixed and relooked at and revised. Alright, and that is my story and what I have to say. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a home run of a day.